Hey guys, and welcome to this Linvala Shield of Seagate Brawl deck tech. And if this is your first time here, as I mentioned, welcome. And I want to invite you to watch some of the previous videos I made playing this deck in a playlist that will be provided at the top right of this video or towards the end of it. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this deck tech is that somebody asked about a deck list, which will also be provided at the bottom of this video or in the description. So feel free to copy it, import it, and make tweaks to it. I'm pretty sure you will not agree with some of the choices I made with these cards, but this is my personal playstyle, and I will I will describe or talk about why I put these cards in this deck. So without further ado, let's start with the commander, which is Linvala Shield of Seagate. Other than being an angel, which I absolutely love, the main reason why I picked Linvala was of her ability when she is sacked to give all my creatures hexproof or indestructibility. There is also a party mechanic when triggered, so if you have a cleric, rogue, warrior, or a wizard, you hit that party mechanic and she will prevent the target non-land permanent to block or attack, nor can their activated abilities be activated. So yeah, I rarely hit into the games that I play. It's mainly the sacking part, the sacking perk, that is, where my creatures are not targets of destroy or exiles or any of that. And the win con pretty much is I will hit you for more points than you will hit me. So that's it. No other trickery other than Linvala's sack ability. So let's start with the one slot, and that will be Alseid of Life's Bounty. Pretty much was put in there to protect Linvala. It's also an enchantment which will help with some of the cards in this deck and gives lifelink. So it's great early game for lifelink, and mainly it's mainly there to protect Linvala from a certain color that might target it for shenanigans. Another card in the one slot is Deafening Silence, and it too is an enchantment. Mostly it was put there because of trickery, and for me to say make her relax, you can only do one trick per turn. So yeah, it's there. It has hindered me too because it's all players, so it's not opponents. But if you're mindful of it, it helps out, and it's an enchantment too, which, as I mentioned, it will help other cards in this deck. Light of Hope, great utility card. I mainly put it in there for the destroy target enchantment, but later on it helped with a certain Valkyrie. When you can gain 4 into life, it gets you close to a certain target that this Valkyrie will do, and I will get to that Valkyrie in due time. So it became an added bonus later on when the Kaldheim set came out and there were more angels, and that the gain 4 life is great. 1/1 counter, barely use it, but it does help in some situations, especially if you got some red cards that target for a certain amount of damage, like say 3 damage or 4, and you just want to just do that one more to be like, you just wasted a spell. So yeah, so you choose any one of those two, and it's an instant. Any one of those 3, and it is an instant. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Sorry, folks. Speaker of the Heavens, as I mentioned, love my angels, and this cleric, which as I said, is part of the party mechanic. Helps out not only with the party mechanic, but it helps create angels, which I, as I mentioned, absolutely love. But you need 7 more life than your starting total, so 32 life basically in Brawl, and you can tap them as a sorcery and create angels. It's vigilant and it's lifelink, so it's great early game, just like the nymph that I started off in the 1 slot. Chain to Memory, pretty much there to soften the impact. Scry 2 ability is great, but it's mostly just to, help cushion the blow. And it's great if you got like some death touch, and you can negate that. So it's there. It helps. Another helpful card is Opt. I think that's if you got any access to blue, this is a card that has to be in your deck. Scry 1, and you can draw it. So, yeah. Next card in the 1 slot will be Wall of Runes, which a couple of my friends mentioned that I should replace, especially for a Selfless Savior. Selfless Savior is a dog, and I'm a cat person, so no. The reasoning was that I can sack Selfless Savior, and it would help with Linvala. But you know what? Wall of Ruins, the Scry ability is an added bonus, but it was mainly put in there for the fast and especially aggro decks, red or green, and it's just, yeah, it's an 04. Early game it helps, and later on if you need, to build more board presence and scry, it's also there. But yeah, it's mainly an early card, 04 blocker. Yeah, especially if I'm in land trouble, I'm like, let's see if I can get a land the next turn, while I put down the Wall of Runes, and let's see if it is or not. But even if it is or isn't, it'll block. So there's that. Now in the 2 slot, we start off with a cleric, the Hallowed Priest. He's a 1/1, but he will grow if you gain life, and sometimes it can get nasty, and it's a target for sure. Especially yeah, it's a target. Even I was gonna say red or black decks, but even green has that fight ability, which could remove it. But yeah, it's a grower, and it's also I put it in there because of the cleric mechanic that Linvala has. And we continue with another cleric, and that's Impassioned Orator, also great in the 2 slot. 2/2, beefier than the Hallowed Priest at the beginning, but say you put Impassioned Orator down first, and then put Hallowed Priest. Hallowed Priest is ready 2/2 because Impassioned Orator will gain you life, and whenever you gain life, Hallowed Priest will get a 1/1. So yeah, but also another cleric, and yeah, you drop a lot of creatures down, and you're gonna get a lot of life. So this one's also a target for some decks. Knight's Pledge, 2/2 plus 2/2 enchantment. Great for the constellation mechanic that I have in this deck, and you put that on Alseed. I wouldn't put it on Alseed, but I would put it on Speaker of Heavens, because if you sack Alseed, you kind of wasted the enchantment. So I'd rather put it on Speaker of Heavens early game, and you can get a lot of life back pretty fast. And a certain Valkyrie would love a lot of life. Well, I'll get to it shortly, folks. All right. Here's another card that probably should be replaced. It's Leonan of the Lost Pride. I wanted it because it was a warrior in my collection when I built the Linvala deck at the time. But it also has that ability, if it dies, it exiles a card from somebody's graveyard. Sure, I don't have a lot of exile, cards. Well, I have a few, but but it helps. In its spot, I think I would put Youthful Valkyrie, but that's not a warrior. It is an angel, which grows with more angels. If I were to put an angel warrior, it would probably be Stalwart Valkyrie, which would cost the same amount if I exile a card, right? Because that's its ability, and it's a 3/2 flyer instead. But early game Leonan is good to put pressure on, and if it dies, if or we want to trade, I'll get rid of a card. So it's not too bad, Like you could probably take it out. I'll keep it, because I have a cat bias. So yeah. If this next card, this card actually is not the MVP. It's a very close second, and this is Luminar Aspirant, which pre-combat makes a target creature +1/+1, and it keeps growing. You put that on, Speaker of Heavens or Alcide or any other creature, in fact, and yeah, you will definitely get that win con pretty fast. So yeah, it's also a target for my opponents, but if it can stick around, it will help do damage. Yeah, so like, early game too, like you put it out, it's a 1/1, but pre-combat it's already 2/2, and then next turn it's a 3/3, and you can swing with it for a 3/3. That's great. But yeah, it's a great card. Like I said, it's almost an MVP or MVC, most valuable card. Pacifism, it's a classic enchantment, mainly there for just holding my opponent back if they've got a big beefy character, and I just want to hold them back. Yeah. So, and it's an enchantment, which also, as I mentioned, is great for the constellation mechanic. Got pressure point, mainly for the draw card, and I could buy myself a round if there's especially a big body. I could tap them and just hopefully get something in the next card. But yeah, I mainly put that in there for a card draw. So this one could go too, but I just love all the cards I put in this deck. Speaking of card draw, we got Revitalize, gain 3 life, and you can draw a card, and great, draw a card, and you gain a life, and a certain Valkyrie loves life, and hey, even the Hallowed Priest loves life, right? He gets a 1/1 out of that, so also great. And then it's an instant, so I could do it anytime. Revoke Existence is one of those, I think, archetypes that I play with, and that is pretty much enchantment or artifact removal. Can't stand it, especially you got some nasty ones like Embercleave or the Twig, which is, I think, Shadow Spear, or I think it is the one that gives you life. I want to get rid of that. No, you can't have it. This is the card to do it. It sucks that it's a sorcery, but I can wait, and hopefully, when I do, my opponents will be disappointed when they see their beloved enchantment or artifact gone. Speaking of enchantments, we got another one, and that is Omen of the Sea. Great flash ability. You can scry 2. You draw that card from the scry, or later on, if you need, you could sack it and scry 2 again. But it's also an enchantment, which also, as I mentioned, helps with the constellation mechanic. And now we get to a card that benefits from the constellation, and that is Protean Thaumaturge, or however you say it. I'm really bad with magic card names. And it's a 1/1 wizard, so the wizard is the reason why I put it in there. But not only that, you drop a enchantment in there, and it becomes a copy of target creature. So I've used this against my opponents so many times, and it's great, especially if they have like a general, like say Veto, or maybe a couple of the dragons from Strixhaven, where I can where I can have it as a mirror match and just frustrate my opponents, or I could copy some of my cards that have some good abilities. But yeah, this is great. You know, it's yeah, I've used this a lot of times. If it survives, that is, like, it's a weak body, but if it survives and I can drop an enchantment down and there's something on the battlefield that I can target that looks juicy, I will copy it. So yeah, there's that. Another enchantment that I love is this Staggering Insight. It gives a creature lifelink. Not only that, if I do connect with the player, and that is if I connect with damage, I get to draw a card. So it's card drop mostly, but hey, lifelink too, right? So there's that. And Arcane Signet, I think, has to be in every deck, you know, because it says Commander's color identity, so you need to fix your mana. You got to put this Arcane Signet in there. All right, down to the 3 slot, and here's an Angel of Vitality. Great early card, especially that in the Brawl format, you know, you have 25 life, and Angel of Vitality's ability is if you have 25 life or more, you get +2. So putting Angel Vitality down on turn 3, she's already a 4/4. So she's in there for that. Not only that, but if you gain life, you get the life +1. So there's that. So if you got a certain target you got to hit, you know, you get there faster, obviously. All right, another enchantment, Banishing Light. Like I said, it's an archetype of my decks. I need to put exile or enchantment removal, or artifact removal. So Vanishing Light is there, and it helps with the constellation, obviously, mechanic. Yes, it can be removed with disenchants or anything like that, but I don't think a lot of players are like me, play with a lot of enchantment or artifact removal. All right, here we go. Certain Valkyrie that I was talking about, and that is the Righteous Valkyrie. For 3 mana, 2 colorless and 1 white. Anytime you put down a cleric or angel, you get that much life back as their power. Sorry, toughness. Sorry, so their toughness. And if you have 7 or more life than your starting total, which is like Speaker of Heavens, everyone gets +2/+2. So yeah, you can see why. Like, I want to get to 7 life pretty fast. It's Righteous Valkyrie, and you know, it's a great combo with Linvala, because if you put Righteous Valkyrie out, Righteous Valkyrie is, I want to say beefy, but it's tough. It's pretty tough. 2/4, and so yeah, you put Righteous Valkyrie out, and then you put Linvala out. So Linvala has 3 toughness, so you're getting 3 life. And something happens where you got to sack Linvala, or Linvala is put away in back in the command zone. You can cast Linvala again, provided that you have the mana, and you get 3 more life. So you're up to 6 life, and hopefully you're close to that trigger where you have 7 or more life, and everyone's a +2/+2. All right. And the Righteous Valkyrie is also a cleric, so good for that party mechanic. Another one to the party is Brazen Borrower. I love this card. It's a little weak, 3/1 flyer, but I love that you can bounce the target non-land permanent. Especially those mutate decks or something with enchantments or artifacts. You just remove the creature and everything drops. And that's great. And not only that, it's you can put Brazen Borrower out on your opponent's turn, and they can swing back, provided they don't have any answers like blockers or any burn spells or anything like that. You can hit them for 3 in the air, so not bad. Yeah, it's two islands prerequisite, along with the colorless, but I would say it's still pretty cheap. Right, another in the 3 slot is Sea Dasher Octopus. Doesn't really fit the theme, I guess. Maybe you could say it's got the sea. That's the common thing with Linvala. It's mainly in there for the draw. You know, I'll put it on a non-human. Yeah, hopefully, I connect with the player, and I'll draw a card. And I have a lot of flyers in this deck, so hopefully, there's a lot of connection going on. But yeah, it's mainly for I mainly put this card for card draw. All right, here we go in the 4 slot. Archon of Sun's Grace, which also benefits from the constellation mechanic. It is a 3/4 flyer, which is great with lifelink, and you drop a enchantment down, and you will get a Pegasus. And since Archon gives all Pegasus lifelink, the Pegasus token is a 2/2 with lifelink. So yeah, great flyer. It helps me get to that +7 life total goal fast, you know, with the Archon. So, and it creates more bodies, so that's always helpful. All right, we've got a Planeswalker next, and I normally don't play with Planeswalkers in the paper format. I don't know. I have something against it. It's irrational, but I have something against it. But I think here you gotta use a Planeswalker if it suits you, and if it's not Ugin. But yes, Elspeth, Sun's Nemesis. I love all their abilities. The first one is pumping up creatures. You know, +2, +1. You know, hopefully you have no blockers, or even if you do, hopefully the +1 is just enough to get around them, or so your creature can survive. But yeah, it's mainly for the +2 power. And the next one is creating human soldier tokens, 2 of them, and they're 1/1 each. Yeah, I don't use this one a lot, but you know, sometimes there's an occasion where I'll put soldiers out, and if they can get through, I'll just pump them up. So then you've got a bunch of 3/2 soldiers. And hey, you know, if Passion Orator is out, you can see the synergy there, right? Like just like, oh, 2 life, bam, bam. All right, there you go. But later on, when Kaldheim came out and Righteous Valkyrie is in my deck, the last ability of Elspeth is amazing, and that is to gain 5 life. So I could get to that +7 target real fast just by sacking, well, not sacking, but just taking 3 loyalty counters off Elspeth. And the great thing about Elspeth is the escape mechanics. So there's not a lot of I only have 1, but yeah, there's not a lot of graveyard recursion in my deck, so I'll just have to exile my 4 cards out of my graveyard, and I can put Elspeth back out, and bam, I have options. So yeah. All right, last card in the 4 slot is Leonan, War Leader. Not an angel, but it it is a great token generator with lifelink, right? Leonan doesn't have lifelink. His tokens have lifelink. And yeah. And as I mentioned with the Orator, 2 tokens come out, I get 2 life, and those tokens have lifelink, so bam, already at 4, so yeah. And I don't need to tell you guys, Leonan's a great card for lifelink decks, and I wouldn't consider this an exclusively lifelink deck, but it has a lot of lifelink in it, and Leonan is a must. Also a lot of hate, but yeah, he is a must. Yeah, there's that. All right. Okay. Now, the true MVC of this deck, and I think it could be considered a I win card, is Bond of Discipline. And late game, if you've got board presence and your opponent has some obstacles in the way and you got lethal, you drop Bond of Discipline on if it doesn't get countered, or if there's no other trickery, definitely everyone swings for the win. And yeah, there's an added bonus of lifelink, and I've used it early when I did need to fix my life, but mainly this is just to get around everybody and just win the game. So yeah, Bond of Discipline is one of my favorite cards of this deck, and thankfully there's no settle the wreckage, because if that happened, you're in big trouble. Because all your creatures, I mean, you don't have to swing with a team, right? Everyone's on your opponent's side is tapped, but yeah, if they do a settle the wreckage and you swing with a team, you're in trouble. But that's for historic, and we're talking about Brawl right now. Just strictly standard Brawl. Okay, Angelic Reward is probably a card I think people would say you don't need this in your deck, but yeah, it's a beefy enchantment, and it's got Angel in the title, I guess. I don't know. It's a 3. It gives your creature +3/+3 and flying. So hey, if you need to get 4 life somehow, you can always put it on Speaker of Heavens, or even Alseeds of Life's Bounty, or even Leonan, make him a 7/7 flyer, whatever. Yeah, and it's an enchantment, so if I got Protean Thaumaturge out, or even Archon of Sun's Grace, Archon of Sun's Grace could be a 6/7 flyer if I put it on there, and it creates another Pegasus. But so yeah, it could be questionable for some, but I like it. I'm I am married to this deck, so I don't think I would change it. I don't change it with that card. Another card that's beefy is my Baneslayer Angel. When I put it in there, it was mainly because it was a 5/5 beefy flyer with lifelink, and it's great with Righteous Valkyrie. So if you got Righteous Valkyrie for 3 mana, and then if you can get the 5 mana and play Baneslayer Angel, you've got 5 life coming out of Baneslayer Angel, and we can rewind that a bit and be like, turn 3, drop Righteous Valkyrie. If it survives, turn 4, drop Linvala. So you're getting 3 life, right? And let's say we're at 25, so we're already at 28 with Linvala. And we drop Linvala on turn 4. Turn 5, we drop Baneslayer Angel. We get the 5 life. That's 8 life from starting total. So we're at 33. Sorry. And bam, you already got +2/+2 on everybody. And now everyone, Righteous Valkyrie is a 4/6. Linvala is a 5/5. Baneslayer is a 7/7. Like, it's gross, right? So you can see, why I love playing with this deck. Like, and another card that I love because it's an answer to some big creatures is Elspeth Conquers Death. Mainly put in there because of her first chapter, which is to exile target permanent with 3 or more mana casting costs. So yeah, it doesn't have to be just a creature. It could be an enchantment, artifact, but it's mainly an answer for me to cast on an opponent's creature. So that first chapter is great. Second chapter, you slow them down. I don't know how much, though. I don't really feel that it does that much. But yeah, non-creature spells, they cost 2 more on their turn. But an added bonus would be chapter 3. And that would be if there's a creature in my graveyard, or if Elspeth's in my graveyard, I get them back, and the creature would get a +1/+1, or Elspeth gets another loyalty on their loyalty counter, so she would be a 6, right? Yeah, 6, yeah. Okay, so here we go in the last 3 cards in the 7 slot, and that would be Realm Cloaked Giant. Now, this is my board removal, and people would be like, well, why don't you put Shatter the Sky or Doomscar or even Undo Inversion, because that's also a land if you don't want to play it for its board wipe. And those are all valid points, but just Realm Cloaked Giant is also a creature. Well, he is the creature, but playing the cast-off ability, you got to be aware that your opponent doesn't have any giants, because it only wipes non-giant creatures. And Kaldheim had some giants in that set, but most of the games that I play, there's not a lot of giants. So, but you got to be aware of it, though. As I said, it's a board wipe and it's a creature, and that's why it's in there. And you put Angelic Reward on, and they're a 10/10 with Vigilance. Like, that's gross, right? So, yeah, it's my board wipe, and it's a creature. That's why it's in there. It does 2 things. Like the other ones, yeah, Doomscar has Foretell, but yeah, no. And Shatter the Sky, I think, gives you a card draw, but whatever. It's all about having the big beefy creature, right? And another card that you could say maybe shouldn't be in there would be Emiria's Call. When I built this deck, it was mainly for Emiria's Call because of the 2 angel warrior it creates, and gives non-angel creatures indestructibility, right? And it's very late game, and it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, and I've got Righteous Valkyrie out. That's already 8 life, right? So if you need 8 life fast, this is the way to do it. But it had the added bonus when I put it in there for being a land. Sure, it comes in tapped, but I could pay the life or not. But it fixes my if I need a plains, and if I'm swamped with islands, then I got a plains. So it has that added bonus. Yeah, it's beefy. I'm sorry, it's pricey for a 7, but hey, late game, and if I could play it, there's a big smile on my face when it does. And finally, we've got basic lands, and I picked the most basic ones. and I talked, and when I say that, it's in terms of the artwork. There's no mistake. That looks like a plane, and that looks like an island. Something I wish I'd be on right now. And then Command Tower, you've got as kind of like Arcane Signet, but it doesn't cost anything. So if you need need a blue or white, Command Tower fixes it. And my final card, which probably some people would say I should replace, would be Evolving Wilds. It's just a sentimental card for me. It fixes mana for me. If I need an island or a plane, especially early game, where your starting hand, you might have one but not the other. On turn 1 or 2, you can cast it and then sack it. Linvala is 3 already, right? So, and hopefully you get something in the 1 slot that when you do sack it, Evolving Wilds, that is, it doesn't hinder you too much. And then next turn you've got a land online. But wait, there's more. I completely forgot about Seagate Colossus, and Seagate in the house. Linvala and the Colossus, they got to represent. And if there's a party, especially with a cleric, a rogue, or a wizard, you know, Seagate's coming to it. You know, and he loves to throw down, you know, especially 7/5. You know, you can cast him for 7, but you know, if you can cast him with 4, that's even better, right? And not to mention, you know, if Linvala is also there, you know, you trigger her ability, and the party's going down, and not in the way you think. It's the real banger. Yeah. So, you know, and what's a party without a questionable character? I mean, you can say Seagate doesn't belong, but like I said, you know, and hopefully I made my case that, you know, a 7/5 for 4, you know, that's not bad to put, you know. And that's my Linvala deck. As of this recording, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms is out, so you can definitely make some replacements and add some clerics, rogues, wizards, and warriors. But I have been playing this Linvala deck mostly since Zendikar Rising, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, and it's been incredible. And don't mind the name. I name all my decks with angels after a Victoria's Secrets brand, so they had one called Incredible. And in an earlier video, I made a joke about how angels are a dying breed in the fashion world. So if you haven't checked it out, as I said earlier, you can see the playlist at the end of this video, and feel free to take the deck list, as I said, also, and tweak it to your heart's content. And if you got something to say, go down below and
enter your name, pilot.
Thanks, guys.